How many of you have heard of Money Rock County Park? Yeah, Megan. Well, Megan and I got lost there, so she can tell you. Even in Lancaster County, typically no one knows about Money Rock County Park. It's over sort of the New Holland area in eastern Lancaster County, so it's not too far from you here. And it was said that supposedly farmers would hide money in the rocks to hide from the natives at the time when they were establishing the area. And about 2 weeks after my husband passed away, this was late October of 2008, I decided I wanted to get outside. I had grown up camping and hiking my whole life, so it wasn't unusual for me to want to seek being outside in a time of stress, in a time of need. But it was really particular for me to go someplace that had no memory. So that's going to be really hard. If you think of any place that you like to visit, I'm sure you can think of countless memories that you've had there. And so for me, finding a place that had no connection to myself and where I was raised, but also had no connection to my late husband and I just wanted to go somewhere where I couldn't have a trigger, where I could go and feel safe. Hello, ladies, come on in. I was just saying, my name's Brenda, and a couple weeks after my husband passed away, I started wanting to go and get outside, and one of the places I found was Money Rock. So and this was at the time when GPS wasn't really accurate. So I had this old GPS that I set up, but I also had the printed directions, and I'm driving. It's like 45 minutes trying to find my way there. And if you've ever been going to, driven somewhere new, you get that instant anxiety, wondering if you're going to get lost. So, my fingers are just wrapped around the steering wheel, and I'm feeling very anxious and clinging to the steering wheel for dear life. And I finally get there, and I just start going through the motions. Okay, get what I need, hide my purse in the back, get out on the trail. And it was at the end of October, so everything was kind of bleak. All the leaves had fallen. Everything around had that gray, brown look about it, and it just really felt like my life at the time, like everything was just kind of dead. And as I started walking, I felt that my hands that had been so tightly wrapped around the steering wheel started kind of loosening up. And they started drying out, and they had been kind of sweaty. And I found that my heart rate, that had been up here for weeks since my husband passed away, was finally starting to calm down a little bit. And I felt like I could take a breath. And the further I walked, the more I realized that everything around me wasn't necessarily dead. They were just preparing for winter. So squirrels were still running around and gathering their acorns and getting ready for winter. And this is the time of year when there's that brilliant moss, like the color of your shirt. It's that vibrant moss that during summer you don't really see it because everything else is that beautiful green. But in the fall, it's still there, and it's beautiful, and it's moist, and it just looks perfect and alive. And it was the first instance that I realized after my husband passed away that the world was still continuing to go around and around, even though I felt like I was just completely stuck. So that was the first indication that I had that, nature, there was something to this. There was something really healing about it. And I loved seeing the cyclical evolution of nature, that it continued to go, and that even after a dormant winter in the spring, everything would bloom again, and that life would come back. And it was very healing and a sense of positivity for me to be able to think about what the future might hold for me, that it wasn't all doom and gloom. So I typed this up just as sort of a mission statement of what I think about nature and healing. The therapeutic encounters we experience in nature have the ability to transform how we treat mental illness, disorders, trauma, and grief. So it's not just about grief. We can talk about things about anxiety and depression and really anything you deal with where it creates stress in your life, about how nature can be a great tool to help you through those things. So have any of you been through a tough time around the holidays? Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is. The holidays can be extremely stressful. So with my husband passing away at the end of October, right away there's Thanksgiving and there's Christmas, and I didn't want to be around for it. I just didn't want to be here. I was 24 years old when my husband passed away, and I grew up in a very small community, and I had moved home with my parents when he got sick. So everyone knew me as the widow. At least that's how I felt. That everywhere I went, there was just that look of, oh, we know what happened. And I just didn't want to be around that over the holidays. So I decided to go to the West Coast, as far away as I could at that time, to escape for 2 weeks. And fortunately, I had a wonderful friend in California who I'd never met in person. And her daughter had a similar cancer to my late husband. And she said, when Kevin gets well, you come out and visit me, and we'll go travel. He never got well. I said, does your offer still stand? She said, sure. So I went out there, and we drove the Pacific Coast Highway, and we toured some wineries. We went to this beautiful retreat called Estela Mar, and I just felt transformed there. It was so beautiful. And what was great is no one knew whether I was a widow. They didn't know what was going on in my life. And I could be completely anonymous for a couple weeks, which was fantastic. Do any of you like to travel places and just sort of be someone else for the week? That's part of the fun of travel, I think. Does anyone have an experience that they want to share about that? It's all right, you can share with me later. But the second part of the week was me going to Washington State. So I went further north and visited my friend Tom. Truth be told, he was an ex-boyfriend, but we had become very good friends over the years. And he said my house was open to him. So I went there, and he let me use his car for the week while he was at work. But the more time I had there, I was alone a lot, and I realized that it didn't matter where I went, I wasn't going to be able to escape the fact that I was a widow. That awaiting me at home was tons of paperwork, and I was going to have to go back to work, and frankly, life was going to move forward whether I liked it or not. So even though there's the wonderful part of traveling and being able to escape, which I think many of us use travel for, is to escape and get away from the reality of our lives, that I was going to have to face it. So I love this quote that I read. Even when the sun actually shines, the thick clouds of grief and the fog of despair overshadow any light that may arise. And that's very much how I felt this time, and the Washington State clouds kind of proved me right.